who should actually care about the budget?
What if someone who went long on Nifty or on stocks or bought a call option, bought futures or sold a put option, they would have made crazy amounts of money.
The budget does not matter as much as you think.
In this budget, for a salary class, just focus on what is happening with your income tax.
Our entire wealth planning and life planning is dependent on how well our government is going to perform.
What is happening with Kalyan Jewellers?
From 2023 mid till last month, which is just 1.5 years, it moved up from 100 to nearly 800.
The income tax raids that are happening on Kalyan Jewellers offices.
Just a story circulating on Telegram and Instagram caused the stock to fall by 40%.
What should existing Kalyan Jeweller investors do? Deepseek coming and developing a model better than that with this $6 million, 50 crore rupees.
They are able to do all the work that OpenAI's best model can do today at a fraction of the cost.
US and China are in the AI war.
Yeah.
And we in India are in the war of delivering Maggie in 10 minutes to your home.
So here we are with the 11th episode of the Aftermarket Podcast. And even in today's episode, we have 3 very interesting stories that I'm sure will spark a intellectual curiosity in you that makes you want to explore the Indian stock markets a little bit deeper. So the first story of the week, we can't run away from the elephant in the room, the union budget of 2025, but we want to think of it from a different lens. We want to look at if budget is important for you at all as a trader, as an investor, and even as a common individual in the country. Should you even be giving your attention and your mental space to learning or understanding what the union budget is? That's what the first topic is about. Then we'll get into what is happening with the Kalyan Jewellers stock. So there are a lot of rumors floating around, especially with the stock's phenomenal performance in the last 2 years, moving up from 60 to 70 rupees from its IPO time to 800 rupees. That's nearly a 1000% return. But after that, the stock has fell 40% just in the month of January alone. So a lot of hard-hitting rumors and insider information that I think you'll be interested in. Who are the parties who are involved in the stock moving up by quite a lot? And what is the actual reason because of which the stock has fallen 40%? Then we'll be getting into what crashed the stock markets on Monday, not just in India, but globally. The launch of Deepseek AI and it becoming the #1 downloaded app in the US in the App Store. So Deepseek, I'm sure you already know about it. It's the ChatGPT competitor, which is 90% more cheaper, but has the same efficiency. So it's an AI breakthrough that's happening in the very first month of the year. So I think you'll be super interested in understanding what are the nuances behind it and how you will be affected both as a stock market participant as well as a regular individual or a citizen of the nation. So another interesting podcast that I'm sure you'll love, and it makes you think a bit differently. That's what the beauty of this episode is. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, you hit the like button, and you're also subscribed to the Market Feed Clips channel where you can watch bite-sized portions of this entire podcast. So let's get started with the episode. So the first week in this entire new year where Nifty has actually closed or is looking like it will close in green. What do you guys think of that?
While you tell that, things are looking great or things are moving up, I would only say that only after the budget is what the deciding move will come. And it's just a small retracement again. Whenever the market keeps going up, FIS will come again and again sell the market. So I don't think there is much of positivity or strength still in the market.
Yeah, over the last many months, we have seen a lot of retracements, then a larger fall coming and market moving down even further. And this week was crazy, right? I mean, market going below 23,000 up till nearly 22,800 really scared a lot of investors. And that's where, Ajay, you're coming out and saying things are looking slightly even positive. But hey, as you said, people are looking out for the budget to see. People are even saying that even a bad budget is already factored in. So even if there is any slight, even some small good thing in the budget, maybe a post-budget rally is what we are waiting for. But hey, let's see.
Nirmala Sitharaman candle 2.0.
Yeah. I can't, a lot of people are discussing and speculating or hoping for a Nirmala Sitharaman candle once again in the market. But we all know that it's more of a hypothesis or a pipe dream as we talked about than reality. Let's see what happens. Very interesting times in the market. VIX is up nearly 18.
Yes.
I think it was a highest since August of last year. VIX actually doing pretty well, showing that, okay, market predict some huge move is going to come either on the upside or hopefully not on the lower side, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where the three stories of today, it's very market linked and very interesting for an investor as well as a trader. So we'll be getting into all of that here. But before that, I want to address that we missed last week's Aftermarket
Yes, for
podcast.
the very first time that
Yeah.
happened.
After
So-
maintaining a streak of 10 videos.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, after 10 episodes, both me as well as Sharik, we were both not available. So we had to unfortunately cancel. We did put out a community post, but looks like not a lot of you saw that. So if you're just hearing this right here, go check out the community post, engage with it, give it a like so that you get notifications next time, anytime that we publish anything here on the channel.
And one analytics, most of the people are watching the podcast also are not subscribing. So if you hit that subscribe, we are just around like 9-10,000 subscribers away from 500k. So please do hit that subscribe button.
Yes. So
Let's reach there.
let's start with today's podcast, the 11th episode of the Aftermarket Podcast. I'll introduce the host here. My name is Ajay Ajit. This is Nihal Bandapalli.
Hi.
And this is Sharik Shamsin, CEO and co-founder of MarketFeed.
Hi.
So what's our first interesting story for the day?
Come on, with budget around the corner, how can we not discuss about budget? But then again, when I think about it, everyone's doing budget day, trades, live trading, budget analysis, what to expect for the budget. Once the budget is out, then there are going to be a lot of videos around budget analysis, what stocks to invest and whatnot, and everything's going to happen. But then I thought, if we are to talk about budget on the Aftermarket podcast, then it shouldn't be stuff like what to expect or the
Yeah.
analysis, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think we should discuss about why should people even care about budget.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's,
Right.
that's what we want to keep here. Give you that one intellectual curiosity or that spark that nobody else, an angle that nobody else would think of.
Right, because every year there is this event on February where budget is being announced, and then the entire social media or stock market traders and investors, they go crazy. Hey, budget is out, and
Yeah.
they try to do stuff.
and then
I
they
think-
forget about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, right? I mean, a week after, they don't care. Then the next year, a week before budget, everyone's buzzing with budget and what is
Yeah.
going to happen and
The
whatnot.
biggest event for traders,
Yeah,
investors
yeah.
for the whole country.
So let's maybe discuss, I mean, for traders, for investors, for even other like general citizens of India,
Yeah.
what is this budget and why do even we have to care about budget, and even in the right sense, right? I mean, for traders and investors, there is merit to doing it. That is
Yeah.
why maybe people are always talking about budget. So what is the merit and how should they be looking at it and how should they use it? Let's
Yeah.
discuss all about that in
Let's-
story one.
I think let's start with what is the union budget of India?
So the theoretical explanation can be it is our government. You think about a government like as an entity, right? The government is coming out and presenting its budget. And what is a budget? It is, think about a document which will show how much money we made in a year, from what all sources we made that money, and with the money we made, where all will we spend the money, in what quantity, in which all areas will we spend the money. And that is basically what the budget is. And they'll talk about how much extra money we have, how much extra money we do not have, which is called the deficit. All of those will be discussed in the budget. And the simple version, as Nihal asked, is say you are an employee, you get your salary, right? And that's how you live your life. And once you get your salary and once you sit down to plan your life, I'm getting so much income, I'll be spending so much on my groceries, so much on rent and all the other things in your life. That's your expenses, your income, you're investing here, you plan your life. That's your personal budget. Just like that, because your country, it is an entity which has to run, take care of all these things. It also has its budget, and that is what gets presented as the union budget on February every single year.
For now, let's keep all of that aside and get into who should actually care about the budget. Should everyone think or obsess about the budget, try to learn a lot about it? What do you think?
Let's start with traders. Let's go in a flow, right? Let's talk about traders, investors, others who should care about budget and how can they even utilize it in a good way. So let's start with traders. So it's very clear that during budget, around budget, market gets to be very volatile.
Yeah.
And volatility is something that traders can put to good use of, right?
If they do it well.
If they do it well, yeah.
That's a catch, right? I mean, you spoke about the Nirmala Sitharaman candle. That was a crazy candle.
Yeah.
What if someone who went long on Nifty or on stocks or bought a call option, bought futures
Yeah.
or sold a put option, they would have made crazy amounts of money.
Yeah.
So that's just one example. And then there are budget days and times when generally there is an expectation that the market could make a large move on any side.
Yeah.
You don't know which side. It depends on how good the budget is going to be. And then there people deploy a long straddle, which is an option strategy. So deploy a long straddle so that the expectation is there's going to be a huge move on either side. You
Either
do that
side.
and you make money.
Yeah.
So point being, there's going to be a lot of volatility. And if you're a good trader
Yeah.
and you can deploy strategies or predict the trend, then you can make good money from this volatility. So my question is, why should traders not care about the budget? Hey, that's an event which can create volatility in the market. So it's a good money making opportunity for traders. So they have all the right to hype it up during February of every year.
But
Yeah.
again, the statistics say that not many traders are good and they are making money. So personally, I would say unless you are like very professional, you know what you're doing, don't try to, trade on a budget on a very eventful day like that and try to, get pressed and squeezed in that volatility. Because I've actually seen people, turning on the CNBC or any other channel, they'll see that some allocation has gone into this particular sector. Then they'll try to buy those stocks because they'll see that immediate movement happening in that stocks intraday. And we saw that 4-5% movement and then 4-5% falling. So much stuff happens, so much drama and action happens, right? So while Sharik is saying that it is good for traders and they should trade, I would say that unless you are not a very well experienced guy, you know what you're doing, you know your risk management rules, don't get into that.
No, that's how it is with life, right? I mean, it is not the outcomes which gets hyped up,
Yeah.
but opportunities get hyped
Absolutely,
up. So
yeah.
opportunity is real.
Yeah.
I mean, people do jump into the opportunity. It is very sad that most of the people lose money at the end of the day. Statistics also say the same. That is sad. But hey, the opportunity is real. And when there are a lot of people who really want to utilize that and make money from trading,
Yeah.
it will and will always get hyped up.
Yeah.
Correct.
What
Yeah.
about investors? What do you think they should do? So we understood that traders, amazing opportunity. Volatility. If you like the volatility, great place to be. Great time to exist as a trader. But what about investors? Still,
Sorry, Ajay. Before going to investors, now that you mentioned about investors, that's where I quickly started thinking about stocks. Because when you talk about this quick volatility, and even when I gave my example, I was speaking a lot about options and futures, right?
Yeah.
But even with stocks, not during budget, but budget to post 6 months from budget, there's a time where people try to do a lot of budget-based stock picking and stock bets.
yeah,
For
positional trades.
Correct.
Let's say, for an example, the finance minister comes and says that EVs are going to get a new tax
Yeah.
incentive,
Yeah.
right? So we are sure that the EV stocks will play out well. Maybe not for the very long term, but for a certain period after the budget, 3 to 6 months.
Because budget said so, a lot of people would have interest in those stocks, and just because of that, a lot of people would start investing in those stocks, and those stocks would move up.
Yeah.
Just for that reason, and people want to ride that wave, and that has actually happened. Like even in the past 2 years before, I remember a budget telling great stuff. The government going to spend a lot of money on infrastructure,
Yeah.
and infrastructure stocks were really hot. People were looking into it, and those stocks did really give good returns over the next 6-8 months. So there is some merit to it. People doing stock picking bets based on the announcements from
Yeah.
the budget, and they do make money. But again, as Nihal would say now also, you'll have to be careful, make sure. A lot of things to watch out there as well, right?
Because this is where I would like to come in and again remind people that so whenever there is this euphoria that gets created, okay, infrastructure, there's so many lakhs of crores getting funded. So people don't analyze or do their study. They just search okay, best infrastructure stocks in India, and then they'll see that 4 or 5 stocks and they'll try to put money in all the stocks. Some place they'll burn, somewhere they'll make money, and then net to net they're again seeing their portfolio not going anywhere. So even when you actually understand where the funds are getting allocated, I would urge everybody to do some basic research.
That's a good point.
Find a good fundamental company and then invest.
Yeah.
That is where you can do the momentum trading.
Yeah.
So whatever Sharik said, 5-6 months when there is a momentum, you catch the momentum, you ride the wave, make money, have a trailing stop loss, and then exit.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
that's a swing trading strategy people adapt, try to do. But again, it's a tough game, guys. It's not easy.
Yeah.
Again, I'm reminding, it's not easy.
Just because there is a mention of infrastructure or EV on the budget
Yeah.
shouldn't make you just buy some random
Yeah.
infrastructure or
Yeah.
an EV. Let's come to the very important point of budget. Like, should long-term investors care about budget?
Yeah.
Like, for example, hey, we all invest into our mutual funds, and I hope people who are young and in
Yeah.
their middle age, they are planning to stay invested for the next 20, 30, even 50 years. And that's a huge part of the population. Should they care about the budget?
Here's my controversial opinion for long-term investors. The budget does not matter as much as you think. That's my opinion.
But I think Sharik will disagree.
No, I've always been vocal about this, and I don't know if vocal is the right word, but I strongly think about it at least because, I mean, again, we spoke what the budget is, right? Budget is where your government, which is governing the country that you're living in, the country you're investing into, is coming out and telling, hey, what is happening with the economy of sorts, how much money we are making, where we are going to spend, where are we investing for the future of the country. Everything is being discussed in the budget. And that's point one. So let's keep it aside. And now the other point is, we are all investors into Indian equity. Like we all... for granted, think that Nifty will give a CAGR returns of 13%. And all our wealth planning, life planning, everything is dependent on the assumption and the expectation that Nifty will deliver 13% CAGR.
Yeah.
Right?
Which means India, the top companies would grow and give us a cumulative return of 13%.
And what is this expectation of Nifty CAGR dependent on? India will grow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what should happen for India to grow? The government should take the right actions, should invest in the right places, should be making money, shouldn't be messed up.
Yeah.
And that is what the budget is talking about. So when I think about it, our entire wealth planning and life planning is dependent on how well our government is going to perform. And that is something we can get to know from the budget. And if they are doing a bad job, then our lives planning goes away. So then shouldn't be concerned about the budget.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with you. I still agree that on a larger level, our lives depend on the budget. But on a yearly level, I am talking about the investors who are going and watching the entire budget in the hopes of picking that one gem of a stock.
Yeah, that I
for
agree.
them, I'm saying for over the long term, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And my opinion here is that good companies will flourish no matter what. Government might strategically decide to invest in particular sectors, but again, that will take a lot of time. Let's say government decides to invest into green energy or hydrogen, right? That will play out in the next 3 to 5 years. There is no way where you're going to sit today and figure out that magic stock on February 1st. Right? That's my personal expectation.
I mean, I get your point where your point is like long-term investors need not look at a budget to find an opportunity or over-optimize it.
Yes.
They are anyways passive investors. Focus on your life. Let your long-term investments grow because the assumption is India will grow because your government is
you
doing
still have to do your fundamental studies. You'll still get tailwinds. That is, when the economy is moving in a certain direction, there will be some sectors that always tend to perform well in different market cycles. You can identify those, you can pick those stocks, but then don't be too over-obsessed about it. That's my thought and my 2 cents here.
Yeah, but so there is also another school of thought which I believe is it's how you take the data. So I feel, see, government, like you said, is a very big entity which has to run this very big country.
It's like a company, right?
Yeah,
it's like a company operating an entire nation.
Yeah, and they can't make changes or switches like this. So even when you see that every year a new sector is being introduced or a new allocation is being given to a specific sector, it is thought before, a planning has to happen. Democrats has to sit, process a lot of stuff and then only give grants to a particular sector. So if you see that, okay, last year they gave allocation to, let's say, a green energy sector, and this year also they have continued to fund this sector. So we can expect that, okay, government is still bullish on this sector and in long term it can play out. So maybe if there is a new sector, maybe AI. So now, every government is spending a lot of money on AI, but India is not. So maybe in this budget, 2025, they say, okay, we are going to spend some 10,000 crores on AI to build something in India. So maybe that is a new opportunity we can still find. But then we have to allocate a small portion of it in the companies that are working along towards AI.
Some AMC could come up with an NFO and say we have a AI tracking mutual fund.
Absolutely.
All those could happen. But I am saying again, don't be too over obsessed about it. I still stick with my opinion. It's fine. We can have two different opinions.
But again, I kind of I'm taking both of your points because Nihal also said that allocation to those bets should be less. So if the allocation is less, in the long term, how much impact can that have on your CAGR? You're maybe making a 13, you might end up making a 12.8 if the bet goes bad, or a 13.3. I don't know. If the allocation is so small, so then what's the whole point? There is a point of intellectual fulfillment. I mean, this is something people talk about.
Yes. Even I actually look into the budget, even though I said this. I look into it because I like reading about it, understanding about it.
So this intellectual part is where it is said that, a lot of investors, while we say that we invest our money to get returns, to grow our wealth, and that money to help us. But there is the other angle of intellectual fulfillment where people also love to do some stock picking or listen to budget and understand a cool sector which will take off and put some money into a mutual fund which could benefit from it.
Yeah.
So even if it is not delivering you wealth at the end, even if it is not moving your CAGR meaningfully, like we were talking about, it gives them intellectual fulfillment. They feel good that, hey, I understood the budget and I got this insight and I acted on it. I invested into the mutual fund. And if it moves up, even if it is not moving your eventual CAGR by a huge delta, the ego boost, the ego massage they get from it,
Yeah.
it's nice, right? I mean, it's giving them happiness, and happiness is definitely an objective of life. So why not?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we understood what traders want
Yeah.
or they should do and what investors should do.
Investors, just summarizing there,
Yeah.
investors, there is no real financial merit in trying to optimize for taking bets based on budget
Just
for
the
their
budget.
just the
Yeah.
budget
Just
for their
the budget.
long-term investment portfolio,
Yeah.
but definitely for ego boost and stuff like that, they can definitely,
Yeah.
and as a responsible citizen of the country also, they could probably.
And for
Yeah.
long-term investors, they can just simply invest in index funds because let's say if these companies, these sectors do well, they are eventually going to come to the Nifty 50
Yeah.
because what is Nifty 50?
Correct.
Top 50 companies,
Correct.
they're anyway getting exposure
And
in
the
it.
strategy indices like we spoke about.
Like we spoke
but-
about. So all of that can still play around. So investors can do
Yeah.
that.
But yeah, I think we should wrap this session by discussing the other part as well, right? It's not just traders and investors. It's a huge thing happening in the country, the union budget. Like, who else should care about it? I mean, we as normal citizens of the country, other than being traders and investors, like, why should other, like, normal citizens care?
So, while we are talking about budget and who is more impacted by this, when we, from a different side, we think about budget, we feel that maybe business owners, entrepreneurs, these are the people who will be most affected. But in media, social media, or everywhere, we keep hearing a class of society that gets more affected is the salaried class,
Yes.
right? Salaried class are not getting any tax rebates. They are being hammered a lot. They Nirmala Sitharaman coming and squeezing out their money. This is what the narrative that we keep hearing around. So when we take a step back and we go by each individual class, okay, a salaried individual, a business entrepreneur, what should they look into? For specifically salaried class, I would say the major things that would impact them is their salary. Income tax cuts, if there is any slab rates that is going to come, is there any new rebate that is going to kick in? So if you are a salaried class, I would say forget everything that is being discussed in the budget and just look at these things. What is happening with your salary and the tax cut? And maybe GST is a different concept altogether that would anyway not be discussed in a budget. So in this budget, for a salaried class, just focus on what is happening with your income tax, and that should be more than enough for a regular individual guy.
Yeah. And on the other side, I think business people and entrepreneurs, they should be looking at if their industry is having a tailwind. That means if their industry, even remotely, is getting a lot of benefit from the new budget announcements.
Yeah, sadly, that's how selfish the world is. I know, like, because people are more concerned about their life. My income tax going to reduce. My industry as an entrepreneur, is it going to get affected? But I still go back to my utopian world, the ideal world where I want, if possible, every citizen to be cognizant of what the budget is all about, how the government is thinking, where the government is investing in. Because if government is not taking the right actions, it's not just the industries on the economy or the stock market going to go down. The country you live in is going to be a bad place.
Yeah.
And that's where you're living in. That's where your life is. And I don't think that's a nice thing, right? So again, so that's a very, very ideal ask from my side for all of us to be very conscious about how government is thinking. So it is just like the elections. So you should be as much as interested in the budget as much as you should be in elections. But sadly, people today are not even interested in elections or
We
the
had
budget.
talked
But
about this earlier as well. The each and every RBI interest rate decision, even if you don't accept it today, is going to impact your life so much.
Yes.
Just like that.
Yes.
Each and every budget that is coming out,
Yeah.
we are hoping, by default, we hope that it will be okay. Like things will
Yes.
move as normal.
Government will take all the right decisions.
They'll take
and-
all the right decisions. Opposition will hold them accountable. That's what we assume.
Yeah.
But as good citizens, as model citizens, we should always be aware and
Correct.
educated about these facts.
And democracy expects it out of you, out of all the citizens. That's how a good democracy will eventually come out to be and operate.
elect your MPs intelligently so that they elect the cabinet intelligently and
Right.
they take all the right decisions and I mean, I'm sure they have an amazing team working behind, let's say, bureaucrats in the Indian government system, right? Not just the politicians, but I'm sure if we do the right things, we can take our country in the right way.
Yeah,
And that's what.
But while this all is sounding idealistic, I would say it is too much of pressure on one individual to, look at the whole budget and try to form opinions and pressurize government or question the government, right? It's too big of an ask. So I would say that if you're a salaried guy, focus on what is important to
Let's
you.
not go there, Nihal.
And then
So if
question-
everyone starts thinking like that, then what would happen to democracy? I mean,
I'll give you right.
it's-
So let's say a salaried
in
guy.
Hindi, it's boon boon se sagar. In Malayalam, it's pala tulli perivallam, right? So that's how it works. So,
I'll come to your analogy only. So let's say a salaried individual guy, he's focused on his taxation and everything. He'll fight for it. Then a business or entrepreneur guy, he'll fight for his things. So everybody's fighting for their own niches where they have complete knowledge on. Now I can't ask a salaried individual, a professional guy who doesn't know how even business works or entrepreneurship works. And now I can't expect him to go and question the government about how things are going there. So I would say everybody who is in their own niche, which they are strong at, do the analysis, do research, then question from their niche, and collectively it will
everything adds
triple down
up.
and
Even
it will
that's
add
a
up.
more practical approach. I mean, completely with you there.
Absolutely. So, and this is where we have to maybe start moving to a next topic.
Yeah.
While this all budget scenario is happening and Nifty is falling and all, right? There is one interesting stock. Even in my Telegram and even in so many comment section I got, one stock a lot is the Kalyan Jewellers. What is happening with Kalyan Jewellers? It is down by 40%. Bro, what is happening? Should we exit or not? There is a lot of concerns around that. So I feel like there is a lot of rumors also around that. So maybe some IT raids are happening, Motilal Oswal conspiracy, something is happening, and investors are not clear what is happening around that stock.
Yeah, stock falling, an investor favorite stock falling down by nearly 40% in a month. Is
In
definitely
a single month.
In a month, yeah, it's
just
definitely not
imagine
cool.
if
I mean, people
someone put in 1 lakh rupees or
Yeah.
10 lakh rupees,
Yeah.
they would be sitting on just 6 lakhs right now.
Yeah, just to
That's
give
not cool,
context, right?
Yeah.
In 2023 and 2024, this Kalyan Jewellers was the best performing stock ever. I think it went from 60, 70 levels to some 700, 800 levels. So that was like the favorite stock for investors. People just jumped into that stock.
Yeah, the price journey of the stock is very interesting, and that is what is worrying me more, because it gave such a rally. A lot of people, a lot of investor interest got generated. They would have invested at the peak,
the top.
and that's
As
very sad.
any
But
rally goes, I think.
so the journey is, I think we should put it out on the screen as well, because it's very interesting. 2021 is when it's IPO'd at around 70 rupees. Till 2022, it did not move much. It was still at around 60, 70. In the next year, 2022 to 23, it moved up to just 100 rupees. From 2023 mid till last month, which is just 1.5 years,
Yeah.
it moved up from 100 to nearly 800.
8x.
I mean, that's crazy.
1.5 years, 8x, and after that, now it's at 440.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And that is
from
where all this
800 to
panic.
440.
Yeah.
Nearly 42% fall.
And like rightly Sharik said, people would have been invested at the top and they would have seen 40%, their portfolio is down by 40%. And that is where all this panic is coming in.
Correct.
And people, so there are again reasons for this.
Yeah, let's talk about why the stock is falling so much, right?
Oh yeah, and one interesting article or the rumor that I have read is circulating in across all media is the income tax raids that are happening on Kalyan Jewellers offices.
Yeah.
So that is creating a lot of panic and confusion among the investors.
Yeah. So the first one was, as you said, the income tax rates. There was another rumor which went ahead, which said that Motilal Oswal mutual fund managers were bribed to buy Kalyan Jewellers stock, and that is a much more serious accusation. And Sharik, you can go into some other smaller
Just adding
reasons.
on to that, Motilal Midcap Fund owned more than 5% of Kalyan Jewellers as a company. Of the entire
Entire
company,
company, Yeah.
5% was owned by one scheme
Yeah.
of Motilal Oswal AMC, Asset Management Company.
Oh yeah, and Kalyan Jewellers at the very top was around 80,000 crore market cap,
Yeah.
and 5% of it is huge, right?
Yeah. That's very, very interesting news. I
Yeah,
know.
and also the fact that last year, I think we discussed about that in one of the podcasts
I think
before.
it was outside the podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe last year, if you look at all the actively managed mutual funds in the country,
Yeah.
Motilal Oswal Mutual Fund was the top performing mutual fund, giving more than 50% returns in 1 year.
Yeah. And why?
No surprises why.
Yeah, and they were, I mean, it's public information. They were holding a lot of Kalyan Jewellers stock.
Correct. And Kalyan Jewellers moved up so much and they turned out to be the best performing mutual fund. Very interesting. Timing is interesting. But anyways, there are other points as well. I mean, Kalyan Jewellers, if you look at as a stock, it rallied, moved up a bit too much fast, I would say. I mean, the valuation was also kind of crazy. The PE did move up to even above 100, which is unreal for jewelry companies. So that could also be a reason why it is correcting now. And it is also a fact that promoter pledging increasing it, or promoter pledging itself is a vicious circle.
Yeah.
Because promoters already pledged, then the stock price moves down.
Yeah.
Now they'll have to put in more collateral.
They'll get margin call.
Call, and then they'll have to pledge more, and then
Yeah.
it's a vicious cycle. So that's also happening with the stock. So multiple reasons as to why things are bad with Kalyan Jewellers, but the kind of fall is definitely worrying.
So what could end up is with the state that promoters start pledging, the stock falls, then they'll have to either put up margin as cash or more collateral. Right?
Correct.
And if it just keeps on falling, what could happen? They'll have to square off or sell their stocks.
Yeah.
More selling pressure on the market. That's where it becomes a vicious cycle, I guess.
So I think we mentioned some 3, 4, 5 points around why the stock is falling, but I don't think people really want to or care about these reasons, because what is being discussed on social media is there something fishy happening? Is there a scam involved, a fraud involved? Why did it move it so much like that, and now why is it moving down so much like that? What are your thoughts there?
So while people are speculating there could be a fraud or a scam that is happening, Motilal Oswal came in and they said that they didn't take any bribe. They just naturally invested in the stock.
They made money.
Yeah, they made money.
Yeah.
That is what is the stand took by the Motilal Oswal people. And then the Kalyan Jewellers director also came out in the press and said the bribery charges are false. And then the IT raids that were happening also didn't happen. Everything is clean. Nobody has to worry about something.
Yeah, it's
Baseless, malicious, and defamatory. These were what Motilal Oswal AMC put out in their notice, saying that whatever people are speculating again are these words. Right?
So where I'm getting to is, if it is speculation, right, or if it was a rumor, a baseless, malicious rumor, then it's very, very dangerous or very, very scary. This apparent rumor, caused the stock to fall by more than 40%, wiped out nearly 40,000 crores of market cap or shareholder wealth. Just think about that. Just a story circulating on Telegram and Instagram caused the stock to fall by 40%. On the other side, if it is true, I am hoping that SEBI and the Investor Protection Agency, they'll do what is needful. They'll try to investigate this very fairly, and they'll come to a conclusion. Hopefully it is not the case, and the management and Motilal, they're on the right side of the law.
But again, the reason why probably there is a fall coming in the stock, if you just look at the surface level, not even going into depth, if there are any true to these rumors, if you just look at even the P ratio, like how Sharik was mentioning, it touched 100 at a peak and it was overvalued for some reason. And now even today, the P value is around 72, which is really high. And even if you look into the past data or the revenues haven't grown much, the profits haven't grown much. So I think the stock rallied a lot, but the revenues and the profits didn't grow as much.
Yeah,
so
did
I think,
not justify the kind of movement the stock saw,
Correct.
right? I mean, I think the revenue moved up from some 10, 12,000 to 14,000 crores. Some 20% increase of sources. What happened to the revenue over this period where the stock moved up some 800%. So even from a company growth perspective, it was kind of not warranted for. That is why people are being suspicious and discussing about it, right?
So if you're looking at the major competitors for Kalyan, Titan is a name that pops up, because most people don't know this. Jewelry business makes up 90% of Titan's revenue. And if you're looking at the market cap of Titan, it's nearly 3 lakh crores as of today. So Kalyan Jewellers was at a market cap of 80,000 crores. They had a sales over the last 12 months of 20,000 crores. Now Titan, on the other hand, they have a market cap of 3 lakh crores and they have a sales of 50,000 crores. Again, doesn't seem so crazy now, does it? That it deserved or asked for the valuation it was asking. But again, I understand profits is what people look at, not the revenue, and profits are not great compared to Titan because they're a slightly smaller company. They'll get the economies of scale as they grow up. So the hypothesis was not that crazy. Even though valuations moved up a bit too fast, I think if the studies were conducted properly and it is purely unbiased, all these malicious attempts are not true, I don't see much problems here.
Yeah, I think the way the stock moved is what is like irking people, right? I mean, people think about it, talk about it, and have speculations around it is because the way the stock moved. But again,
the promoter, their shares getting pledged, getting margin calls, it is never good for a company like Sharik said. And this is just like catching a falling knife. So I would still say an investor who's like thinking about this stock, I would say just stay away
So
if you're
maybe
not
that's where
clear
let's
about it.
discuss- Now that's where we should actually discuss what should existing Kalyan Jeweler investors do.
So if you actually are holding Kalyan Jewellers right now, think or ask yourself this question. Why did you buy it?
Yeah.
Did you buy it for long-term growth, long-term value investing? Then look at the fundamentals. If you still believe your study, you would have had a study. If you still believe that study, then go ahead, keep holding, right? I don't see any problem, because if you had invested at a lower level, yes, the stock moved up by quite a lot. It fell by quite a bit, but then still you might be in profits.
Yeah.
But
And if you invested at the top, after believing in the company, after studying the company, after understanding, and if you really had a reason to buy the company and you invested at the top, the company is down now, maybe buy more.
It's a golden
Right?
opportunity
Yeah,
if you know what is happening.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
again, going back to the same point, investors, shares getting pledged, that is all never good for a company. So I would still say, if you are even unsure or if you're not 100% sure, just take a step back.
My
stay-
larger point here is, like Ajay saying, if you knew why you bought the company, then you
Exactly.
can take all these decisions.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the
yeah.
sad reality is a lot of people do not understand what they are buying. They just buy stocks in companies just because it is in trend. A
Yeah,
lot of
and
people are
moving up.
buying and it is moving up. It is just only moving up and up and up. So people end up buying such stocks, and that is where people are in trouble.
Yeah.
And that is where I strongly think, if you really don't know, one is, don't buy something that you do not know, or don't
Yeah.
invest in something you do not know. Two is, even if you're doing that, then you're not an investor there, you're a trader there. You have to understand that.
Yeah.
Then you act like a trader. You should
Have a
so
stop
that's
loss.
have a stop loss. That's basically momentum trading of sorts.
Yeah.
Or swing trading in stocks, as we call it, right? So you enter a stock because it's moving up, it's trending up. You want to capture the trend. You exit it when the trend changes. So you should have a stop loss, an intelligent stop loss, trailing stop loss is possible, a stop loss based on technical indicators if possible. Do all those so that you don't end up being an investor in a trade that you took, right? You
Yeah.
were trading a stock and finally now you have it in deep red. Now you call yourselves an investor in the company. Don't
Yeah.
do that.
Never
Right.
chase stocks after a massive rally unless you have a very strong conviction of the trend and a very superb SL in place.
So, I hope all the investors, Kalyan Jewellers investors or the potential investors would have gotten their answers already. But there is also one more investor's favorite stock that is popping up, which is Tata Motors. And it also fell by 40%. And people are asking, is this the right time to invest in Tata Motors? Because we are getting at a much good value.
Yeah, I would like to give a single line answer here. So the story in Kalyan is much different than what is happening with Tata Motors. Kalyan, a lot of rumors floating around, people not understanding why the stock went up, them not understanding why the stock fell. But on the other side, Tata Motors, everyone understood why the stock performed, right? So Jaguar Land Rover, its major cash cow for the brand, was doing amazingly well over the last multiple years. So the stock went up, everyone enjoyed it. Now the brand, the sales have slowed down for luxury vehicles across the world. JLR is not doing so great, so Tata Motors stock is down. So in Tata Motors, there is a clear fundamental reason why it went up and why it is falling now. So if you are not scared of the fall, then there is nothing stopping you from going ahead and averaging or entering the stock right now. But if you're against what is happening, the sales slowing down, and you feel like this is going to be a longer time frame thing, then best to stay away, right? Just like any other stock. And that's
Absolutely.
where I think we have to discuss about what's most trending in the entire world right now,
Yeah.
which is the AI that turned markets crazy on Monday.
Right?
Yeah, before wrapping up, we just definitely have to take this topic.
The chat GPT, OpenAI killer.
The Deepseek
Yeah.
AI, it shook the whole America. I mean,
Right.
it created the panic in everyone. The Nasdaq fell a lot because of that. There was chaos everywhere because of this one Chinese AI coming up.
Yeah, so it's kind of shattering every belief every human had around what or how an AI company could develop or go ahead, and what's
Yeah.
expected out of AI and what pace it would develop over the time. This, I think, is a pivotal moment in humanity's history. I mean, I think it's such an important
Yeah.
event.
But before
Yeah.
getting into that, first maybe somebody who doesn't even know what is happening.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody who doesn't even have context of this Deepseek AI. Maybe we should first tell what is Deepseek AI.
So Deepseek is this new Chinese open source AI model that has come out, and as Sharik said, everyone's beliefs about AI has been shattered. So they are able to do all the work that OpenAI's best model can do today at a fraction of the cost,
Yes.
nearly 90% less cost. So everyone is thinking that, okay, there is a new AI model. that's not it, right? The new AI model is much more efficient, and at the same time, you can start running it on any of your PCs because it is open source. And that, I think, has blown a lot of minds.
Correct. So the beliefs it shattered is what shook me as well, because the entire world thought AI is a very costly game. It takes billions of dollars to develop it, and even billions of dollars to run it and make it better.
Yeah.
So that's why OpenAI and all the AI companies in the US raised what, 100 billions of dollars,
Yeah.
north of 100 billions of dollars, went into funding these companies
Yeah.
and developing these models. OpenAI around, I think, raised $20 billion, and that is with what they developed all their AI models, ChatGPT and the models that we see, and Deepseek coming and developing a model better than that with this $6 million.
Yeah.
That is what, 40 crores?
50 crore rupees.
Just a
imagine,
fraction of that.
Comparing that to what, 1,60,000 crores.
Compare that to the Ambani wedding. They spent 5,000 crores on the Ambani wedding.
Absolutely.
So with just 50 crore rupees, they came out with a model which are better than any other models developed in the US, and they can also run these models in a more cost efficient manner.
Yeah.
So now humanity is like, hey, we thought we'll go to AGI or a futuristic future with spending a lot of money. And that is where they're coming and saying that, hey, humanity, you don't have to spend so much money.
Yeah.
You can reach there in a cheaper and a more efficient manner. And I will empower all humans to do that as well. And that is the open source part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they just did not develop a great model. They are putting it out in an open source manner where other companies, other knowledgeable people can leverage it and do better stuff. And
Yeah.
this is crazy.
But again, this is how Chinese have always been, right? So they were never the first movers ever. If you think about, somebody would invent something by putting lot of money, hundreds of crores of rupees, or even lakhs of crores of rupees, and then they would conveniently simply come out with a look-alike product.
I was maybe expecting you'll use the word copy, because that's what China is famous for, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
always famous for copying, but this time around it seems like they just did not copy.
Yeah.
They innovated.
Yeah, they innovated
Yeah,
because
I mean, it looks like they
yeah.
put out the research paper and it's being vetted and discussed everywhere. It
Yeah.
looks like they've innovated. So, yeah, I know they're infamous for copying, but hey, this time, massive respect to what they've done. And very interestingly, you know what? The founder of Deepseek,
Yeah.
he used to be a trader before. So he used to be a
trader
trader
mindset.
first. He used
Yeah.
to be a trader first, working at a hedge fund of sorts. Then he moved out and started his own hedge fund and used AI to trade the markets. And he did really well. His
Yeah.
hedge fund traded the markets and made a lot of money by using AI. And his hedge fund itself grew to some $8 billion of AUM. And this venturing out into Deepseek was kind of a passion project for him. And then he brought in a lot of smart minds from China, and then he started it out, and then he delivered. I mean, this is crazy. I mean,
Man,
super
I wish,
excited.
I wish this was a story which came out from India.
Yeah.
And India, I mean, we deserve the place.
We have Kritram.
Today, I actually, when we were preparing for this video, I asked
Kritram AI.
Kritram about, do you know about ChatGPT? And are you related? And it actually said that it is part of OpenAI. I'll post a screenshot here. So it actually said, I'm a model trained by OpenAI.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, the rumors, which was that Kritram is just a rapper around ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That again proving true.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
that's
that's
a
where
joke.
I see funny memes like US and China are in the AI war.
Yeah.
And we in India are in the war of delivering Maggie in 10 minutes to your home.
So this is where DeepSeek AI is, in my head is like a replica of SpaceX. What they did with, the rockets, while NASA was building, or the Boeing was building rockets at much higher cost. SpaceX, Elon Musk came and he did it for a fraction of cost. And that is what this DeepSeek AI is doing with, again, ChatGPT or all the other AIs that they are building.
Yeah, so there's this other analogy which was relevant right from the moment AI became mainstream and popular, and we all started integrating it in our work and life as well. I mean, one good thing is with AI getting more popular, more cheap and open source with DeepSeek, the kind of blast in productivity that normal people like us and all companies in the world are going to see is out of the world. It's going to be tremendous. I mean, the analogy I'm referring to is that there's this graph I saw somewhere when it's productivity or GDP or whatever. I mean, before electricity and after electricity. After electricity is just shot up crazily.
Yeah.
Then came computer, before computer and after computer. Then it shot up again.
Yeah.
Then before internet and after internet, it shot up again. So it's again a pivotal moment, as I said, in human history, with AI coming, and now with Deepseek, with this, as you also mentioned this, right? I mean, the brutal combination of open source and cheap way of running AI models. Maybe this is again a pivotal moment where things are gonna skyrocket from here. But yeah, looking forward to all those.
Yeah, I personally think that we are not at the place of an artificial general intelligence or AJ, as Sharik was talking about, where AI is going to replace every single human's jobs right now.
Yeah.
So I still feel it's a few decades away. That's
But
what I'm hopeful
with
of.
developments like DeepSeek, what I feel is the journey to that would get shorter.
Exactly.
Right? Now there is a DeepSeek.
Yeah.
A few months later or a year later, I mean, the pace at which innovation is happening is exponentially increasing.
Yeah.
That is what this is telling us.
Yeah.
That is why this is very relevant. So our journey to artificial general intelligence, our journey to a utopia where, let me not go there, but all of those is getting shortened.
So talking about how the markets reacted to DeepSeek on Monday, Nvidia fell by 13% in the US market. And that fall alone wiped out enough shareholder wealth of more than 2 Reliance Industries. Just
Unreal.
imagine India's largest company, 2 times of which shareholder wealth got blasted off in just one day
Right.
by Nvidia falling 13-14%.
Yeah,
Since you mentioned that, maybe you should also speak about why Nvidia fell because DeepSeek came into.
Yeah.
Because there's also this discussion that DeepSeek again is a AI model, and AI models need GPUs built by Nvidia to run.
Yeah.
So isn't it a good thing for Nvidia? That was also being discussed as so maybe we should clear that.
So since DeepSeek or this new wave of AIs that are going to come out, they'll require much less computing power for whatever they're going to do right now. I think the amount of processing power required is much, much lesser.
Yeah.
That means all these hardware providers, they'll sell much less hardware,
Yeah.
right? But I'm sure the world is still moving in a positive direction.
Yes.
Growth might slow down in their sales, but it'll still keep going up. I don't think it's going to be a huge shift. That's why after the day of the fall, things started recovering, and even our market actually for the week is in the green. But for a longer term perspective, I would like to understand or discuss this. How is AI going to affect the Indian stock market? Let's talk about that.
Like I said before, my strong belief is that all these are good for humanity and efficiency of humans and efficiency of companies, and
Yeah.
by that all of the companies, it's not just in India, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere will get more efficient, right? They'll produce more, they'll innovate more, they'll be able to increase their revenues, decrease their expenses, and by that sense stock markets could do well, right? So that's how I think in a very larger general sense.
Yeah, and even talking about Indian companies, I feel every stock, but again, this is my personal thought here, every stock except Indian IT companies,
Yeah.
which are outsourcing the world's IT requirements, they'll benefit. So IT services or IT industry might take a hit in the long term in India, but every other industry, if they do or utilize AI in the right way, they can benefit out of it. That's my personal expectation.
Right. While we can actually be excited about all these and excited about the future of humanity, there is also this real concern, which also gets discussed as a conspiracy theory, but the concern is real when it comes that if AI becomes so powerful and takes over the world and takes over companies and economies and fires people are not needed anymore. There are a lot of sides to the story where there is this sci-fi fiction based expectation that humans could just chill and enjoy while AI takes care of everything. But then there's a darker side of AI eliminating humans, and I really don't want to
Yeah.
go there, but those concerns are real,
Yeah.
being discussed over.
Just-
And this is where the Infosys or the TCS, all of these people who are being outsourced by US or somebody else, we are just outsourced clients. And if AI actually takes over, all these jobs could be in trouble. And India is currently a AI consumer. They are not an AI innovator, or we don't have any ChatGPT of India, right? If you look at every major country in the world has their own AI that they are building from scratch. I know that Mahindra is coming up with something, the Ola, whatever, what's Krutram is coming in. So there are very small things, but not at a very large scale, which would create an actual impact. That is not happening. And even government is not spending enough money to build something within India for India, right? So that is also not happening. So I just hope that in this budget, at least some portion of the funds is going towards
just
this.
imagine this 50 crores is what they needed. It's like
Absolutely.
in Iron Man, the villain comes and says,
Yeah.
Tony Stark built this in a cave.
Yeah,
I gave
exactly.
you all the resources, you're still not able to build it. So I think it's all about having the right minds and the talents inside the country. Even if you're looking at the US AI advisor who has been appointed by the government, he's an Indian, right? So he's going to work in the US, guiding the US government on developing new AI policies and regulations and direction for the industry.
And all the major AI companies also, right, are, the top level people who are running or making those AIs are also again Indians.
Yeah.
So we have that capacity, we have that capabilities to build something within country. It's just you just allocate funds to these intelligent people who are passionate about building something. So I just hope government is listening to this,
but
and
that's also a whole different discussion in itself. I mean, people. The ecosystem in India, how supportive is it? I mean, we are so much into instant gratification today. The venture investing ecosystem in India, not investing into or not matured enough to invest into highly innovative stuff. A lot of different variables coming here. But again, all of this being said, and all of the dark sides also being discussed and explored, I am definitely super thrilled and excited about lives, not humanity's, but lives' future. Right? I mean, that's where I rest the case.
In the long term, amazing universal basic income. But in the short term, I think it's a scary proposition. The economy, as we know of it today, might cease to function. Something radical would happen. I don't know, people rising up against the government or...
While I agree there are merits to all sides of the discussion here, there is also this discussion that when computer came in, this is what people said. People did riots in Kerala. I mean, they had strikes in Kerala saying that computer should go back. Right? Computer, because people would lose jobs because of that. And that did happen in times of industrial revolution as well. When machines came in, a lot of laborers losing job was a concern. I know the concern with AI is slightly different because it's not like the shift we saw in industrial revolution or IT revolution. It's even more real because these are not just tools which are simplifying your work. These are tools which can replace you as well. I understand discussion
think like a human, be a human.
But
if it
then
is
again,
reaching that level.
I think we should stop here because this discussion, if continued, it can go in a lot of different tangents. It can go into a tangent of universal basic income where machines and AI will take care of humans, where humans will still remain the master and things are good. Then it could take the tangent of machines becoming the masters and then humans going for a toss. I don't know, man.
And the best thing about being capitalists here is that we can definitely invest into any of these major companies, either directly if something comes up in India, great. Or something, OpenAI gets listed in the US market, we can invest into the US market as well and try to make money and profit out of that.
And guys, this is where we should actually wrap up this story. And, the ending notes would be, AI is coming in crazily fast. You just have to learn. Somebody who doesn't know or understand AI would be replaced. So, upskill your game, just get on with this, learn stuff and start implementing. That is how you would survive in this AI war. Countries are fighting. So you also have to fight for your own employment and, your skill set and your opportunities. So I think that is where we should wrap up.
And as always, you're the fourth participant of the Aftermarket Podcast. So make sure you comment down below with any of your thoughts and discussion points around either the Motilal Kalyan Jewellers saga or even Deepseek AI and the Indian markets, or our future for humanity, or even about the stock market movements that is happening across the week right now. So yes, this is Ajay signing off. See you all again next week with another episode. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.